everybody, this is Patty, and I'm back to talk about my spring sewing capsule because it is done and I've moved on to some summer sewing. So the last time I did a video, it was the beginning of March and I was getting ready to start sewing after a long hiatus from the sewing machine. Since then, I've finished my capsule, although as usual, I did not do exactly what I planned to do, but pretty close. And I've also had some real pretty monumental changes in my approach to my wardrobe. I've sold off a lot of my clothes, so we're going to get into that. So here is a picture that I shared in my last video. This is sort of the inspiration for my spring sewing capsule. I wanted to get some layers. I really loved this maxi dress from Torrid and was thinking I could use the Holyoke from Cashmerette to kind of make a copy. I was into some knitting, the Arthur pants from So Liberated, and then loved the Hinterland dress from So Liberated, as well as the Lichen Duster. So I shared in my last video too my actual plan, and I had intended initially to sew this capsule of 10 or 11 garments in a mix of neutrals, sort of these forest and meadow greens and some berries and purples. And I'd settled on a maxi dress, at least one metamorphic dress from So Liberated. That's the one that's reversible. This Stacia dress from So Liberated, which is stretchy. The Ursina sweater from Jacqueline. I can't think of the name of the designer, but the Ursina sweater. The Lichen Duster. The Hinterland dress from So Liberated. Gypsum Skirt from So Liberated. Arthur pants from So Liberated. The Ogden Cami from True Bias. And the Penny Pinafore from So Liberated. So this was my plan. I thought I was all set. But then I realized that I, A, hadn't sewn in a while, and B, I hadn't sewn any of these designers. So I was not super sure about sizing or really anything. And I decided rather than jumping all in, because my initial plan was based on all these linens from the fabric store, which retail for, over $20 a yard. I thought, well, maybe I should do thrifted fabrics to make some hopefully wearable muslins. I unless I'm doing a quick fit with a bodice that I'll use a really cheap sheet or something for. If I'm going to go through the effort of sewing a muslin, I like it to be wearable. So when I do wearable muslins, I'll use thrifted fabrics that are in fibers that I don't like quite as much as, if I'm going to go and buy fabric. And I also skimp on the finishing. So I might just, zigzag finish the seam allowances rather than do French seams. So I went out to the thrift shop and I scored a pretty good score of fabric all in one day. And this huge stack of fabric was something like $20. So I got these two down here, these little orange tablecloths, a couple yards each of those. They were a poly cotton mix, 50-50. This piece of fabric I still have. I haven't made it up yet. It's a really cool, here you can see kind of up close. It's kind of this cool, it's not tweed, I don't think. I'm not familiar enough with weave styles to say what it is, but it feels like it might be wool. It's an old fabric. Somebody was using it for some sort of, like maybe they covered something in a basement with it. It has fold lines where there's sort of worn through patches, which I thought would be really cool to actually put patches on. And I love it. It's just that, well, I'll get into why I didn't use it, but I haven't sewn it up yet, but I still have it. I got these cotton poly 50-50 curtain panels that are this kind of cool damask woven in floral and sort of cross-hatching print. I got these curtains, which again are 50-50 cotton poly. They're really, they look and feel a lot like a very heavy linen or maybe cotton canvas, but it's a nice feeling fabric. And then I got the sheet set, which is a cream and sort of sage green gingham, which I love. There's a little bit more polyester in it than I like when I'm getting thrifted sheets to sew garments with. I love it when I can find 100% cotton or as close as possible. But again, this was for my wearable muslin wardrobe. But as you can see, I immediately went away from the berry and sort of cool green color palette to this deeper sort of orange autumn like palette. I also got this a lot of this leaf green cotton poly. They were drapes, and I had some serious yardage. It was something like 9 yards. I ended up, and we'll get into this when we talk about my colors, I ended up not using that and actually redonating it back. I also, for the Stacia dress, which is a jersey, it's really hard to, well, it's hard for me to find thrifted stretchy materials. So the Stacia, I went and I purchased fabric from Joann's, and this really awesome orange, kind of peach coral orange floral print. So I took all the fabrics and kind of allocated them out and decided what I was going to make of them. So the two oranges, I decided to do a metamorphic dress. When you're doing a metamorphic dress, it's reversible, and the layer of fabric that shows when you wear it one way, there's this scoop here, and it means that the other side of the fabric will show. So at least this under fabric that shows when you're wearing it this way, it needs to be reversible because you're going to see it from both sides. This shorter fabric that has a scoop in it, it doesn't necessarily need to be reversible because when you wear it the other way, it's all covered up by the inside fabric. So I use these orange tablecloths. I really love that color orange. I love the detail. These were everything was 50-50 cotton poly. I don't love wearing polyester, but again, they were wearable muslins. So I decided to use that orange for the metamorphic dress. Initially, I decided to use this sort of tweed fabric for the penny pinafore. And when I picked the penny pinafore, I was thinking that I would wear it as it's meant to be worn, as like a layering piece. Here you can see this awesome Instagrammer whose name I can't think of. We're friends on Instagram. You can see how she wears it. It's a totally cute layering piece. She's wearing it over, I think, probably a maxi length Stacia dress. And I was kind of thinking that, but rather quickly I was like, oh, I should totally use the penny pinafore as an apron because I really wanted an apron, something that would cover everything. And I thought that this would be cool. And actually, I still think it would be cool to make like a gardening apron or a work apron. But I realized I didn't really want a heavy tweed fabric as an apron, especially this fabric, because I think it's a little bit delicate. I have washed it, but I don't know how many times it can go through the wash. So an apron is something that, you need to be able to stick in the washer. So I love this idea, and ultimately I did not make the penny pinafore, although I did make an apron. I used a different sort of method to make the apron. I still love the penny pinafore. I decided that, I wanted something that had open sides and was easy to pull over my head. The penny pinafore is completely, it's like a whole dress. So I didn't want to be dragging that over my head, especially I wear my hair up all the time. For this awesome damask, I decided to make the Hinterland dress. The drawing that I have, it has sleeves, but I knew from the beginning I wanted sleeveless. I don't really like sleeves all that much because I wear cardigans so much. But that's a drawing I found. For the sort of khaki linen-like fabric, I had enough yardage to make the gypsum skirt. And this is actually the wrong drawing. I made the version of the skirt that has the side panels and these big pockets, which is really nice. I like that skirt a lot. For the True Buys Ogden Cami, I thought the gingham, totally cute, plus my inspiration picture was completely gingham. So I was like, score, I can do exactly what I saw in the inspiration picture. And obviously the stretch material for the Stacia and the leaf green. The Holyoke dress from Cashmerette takes a ton of yardage. I think it's like 4 or 5 yards for my size. And I had a lot of yardage of this green and loved the color. So that was the plan. You'll see what I ended up doing for the maxi dress. But that was my initial plan. And then the Ursina sweater, I don't have a picture of my original yarn. This is kind of funny. So I made this sweater in a deep orange linen cotton yarn that has just a bit of nylon in it, like 5 or 15% from Michael's. And it was like this color here, that orange. And I know this sweater is super popular. A lot of people have made it. I knitted down to here, and I went through and I strung onto I have one of those plastic strings that you can string a sweater onto so you can pull it over you. You knit it on circular, so you can't pull it on, try it on the circulars. You have to put it onto something else. I tried it on there. It seemed good. And then when I finished the orange version down to here, so I'd finished the bodice completely, but not the arms. It was so huge, like so big. I made a size 8 with one of the larger cup variations, like maybe the E cup or some G cup, something like that. And it came down, I bet it came down, I don't know, it was really long. It came down like this. Like it was really dowdy looking. I did not like it. So I meant to pull it all out, like frog it, start over. But I came across this yarn and it's at Hobby Lobby. I always feel so guilty when I shop at Hobby Lobby because I don't really support them as a company. But they have really nice yarn right now. And they had, it's a cotton linen blend yarn, so no nylon, and it has linen in it as opposed to my initial yarn that was just cotton. So I decided to start over with this kind of oatmeal colored yarn. And I just, in the last week, have gotten to where I've started this part where the detail starts to spread out. If anybody who's made it, you know what I'm talking about. So I've just started that. So I sort of powered through the first bodice in the orange and then backed off a bit and haven't been knitting as much. So this was my plan. And let's see what happened. So here we are. We've got some finished garments. So again, here's my plan. Oh, and I forgot to say, I never even picked fabric for the Arthur pants or the Lichen Duster. I still love both of those patterns and we'll probably make them someday. But there was two things going through my mind. For the Arthur pants, as much as I like them, I wear bloomers a lot, and the patterns are more like So Tina Gibbons style patterns. And I didn't know if I'd wear the Arthur pants. They're really long. I like the cuff action that bloomers have, so I like a little bloomer that's shaped more like this, like whoop, 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 and then like some cute little lace detail there. So because of that, I just didn't even buy the Arthur pattern. And I haven't made bloomers yet, but I'm about to start. For the Lichen Duster, I love this pattern, and I think I probably will make it this fall. But a couple things. First, it is a fabric hog, and I couldn't find a fabric thrifted. I couldn't find enough fabric to make a muslin that'd be something I'd want to wear. Like I had some fabric, but it was way too thick, and I think this pattern needs some drape to it. And I didn't want to go through all the effort of making a hopefully wearable muslin in a fabric that I knew I wouldn't be comfortable in. Also, on further reflection, I really need basics. Like I need dresses and skirts and bloomers and shirts that I can layer and wear. I love cardigans. I have a whole closet, literally a whole closet full of cardigans. And that's what I wear. I don't really like to wear toppers or outer garments or that top layer in a woven fabric. It's just not comfortable to me. I prefer knit. So because of that, I think, like I said, I think I'll keep my eye out for like a cool brocade or wool or something really nice and drapey and make this fall. But I just didn't even buy the pattern for that. So here we are with my initial plan, which was the apron in the tweed, the metamorphic in orange, hinterland in green, gypsum in khaki, tank in gingham, maxi dress in leaf green, and the orange floral jersey. So let's kind of go through what I did. I tried to lay them out in the same way. So for the apron, like I said, I didn't want something to pull over my head. So and I've kind of alluded to this, but so I started sewing in March, and I finished up the last garment that we're looking at right now, which was the apron last week, and it's almost the end of May. And I for my birthday, which is the end of April, I bought myself a color analysis, to find out your season. And I found out that the season I thought I was is not the season I am. And this color brown, this is a lovely piece. I had 3.5 yards of tobacco linen. It's from Joann's. I like Joann's linen. It's a good weight, and it's yarn dyed, or I don't know quite the way, but the warp and weft threads are a slightly different color. So there's a lot of variation in depth to the fabrics. They use a dark and light mix, and I really love it. But after my color analysis, I wasn't as keen. I'd been thinking I'd make a like a Hinterland dress, totally copy Meg the designer's that black Hinterland's dress that she has, that with the V-neck and the short sleeves. I just love how awesome and basic that is. I thought that I'd make a brown version for me, but once I had my color analysis, I wasn't as excited to use the brown for a garment. And when I was mulling over my apron options, I was like, oh, I'll make a brown linen apron because I'm not as intent, or I don't care as much about the color of my apron. And I was finding that as a result of my color analysis, have been making some lighter colored garments than I typically wear. I typically wear darker colors. And I was putting off basic things. Like, I have a lot of houseplants. I have something like 70 houseplants. And I was putting off watering my plants because I didn't want to get my clothes dirty. So I really needed a darker apron, like a work apron. So I thought, oh, I'll use this brown linen. That's perfect. For the pattern, it's a mashup of two different patterns. So the first is the bodice from the Metamorphic Dress. And then for the bottom, the skirt part of the apron, I used the directions from a Sotina Givens pattern called the Patricia Dress, which actually doesn't look anything like this. The Patricia Dress, I actually have, I wonder if I can, usually I can search myself, Patricia Dress. I made one of these a few years ago. Yeah, there it is. So the Patricia Dress is this, and you can't really see it, and I can't write right now because I'm looking at Safari, not my not where I can write on the PDF. But it has a bodice, and the side seams on the bodice are closed, like sewn shut. It has a wraparound waist tie, and then one side seam of the skirt is sewn shut and one is left open and kind of overlaps. So I had that pattern and I had made it. Here it looks, you can see it from the side, and oh, I kind of wish I had it. Yeah, there we go. So there's one side and there's the other side. So it was cute. I'd made it. I was familiar with it. So I kind of copied that, but I did a few things. What did I do? First of all, I used the burrito method from the Metamorphic Dress, so that the bodice is 100% lined and finished on inside. It was really important for me to have the insides finished with the apron because it's so free flowing and flapping around and stuff. Then I top stitched the side seams so they're completely open. You can't see it in the picture, but there are ties right underneath my arm. And just for a note for anybody who decides to adapt a dress pattern the way I did for an apron like this, I put the ties right underneath the arm after experimenting and looking at other pictures because I didn't want those points of the sides to flap around. But I didn't put ties at the waist. And I might actually go back and put ties at the waist because I just wanted a little bit more secure and I'm wearing it. It's fine now, but I might put ties at the waisting too. So I left it completely open by kind of folding over the seam allowances for the two front pieces, the outside and the lining, and then top stitching, and then the same thing for the back. And then each side seam is completely open. I just hemmed the skirt pieces, and and that's pretty much it. There's more details. I put this big pocket here. You can't really see it, but there's a pocket here for my iPhone, and I put elastic loops in it so I can tuck my iPhone into the loops, and because like bending over in the garden so it doesn't go flying. I added these pleats just as a partially as a decorative thing, and partially because it's really long. You can kind of see it's almost to my ankles. I cut the front piece 35 inches. It's just a rectangle that I gathered here, and then the back piece was 37 inches, rectangle gathered. And then I've been using a new way to attach to finish seams where there's like a gather to a bodice. Like if you're putting a gathered skirt on a bodice, or if you were doing bloomers and you wanted to do like the pant leg and then do a ruffle. And I learned this in my Sotina Givens discussion group on Facebook from Teresa, who's one of the admins. It's brilliant. It's the sandwich method. And basically what you do is you take the wrong side of the fabric. Boop, let's say this is the wrong side, is on this side. And here's the raw edge right here. And then you layer the thing that's going to be gathered, G for gathered, next. Then you layer, basically, it doesn't even need to be a bias cut strip, but I'm going to put B for bias. So like a strip of fabric that's like 2.5 inches wide by the length of your bodice. So 2.5 inches this way, length of the bodice. And you fold it in half the long way, press it, fold under the ends. And then you match up all the raw edges along here, sew it all together. And then what happens is, so then when you flip it, so then you have the wrong side of the fabric, same as here, but then you flip over these two layers. So then you have the gathered layer and then the little strip. And then you press the strip this way, and then you can top stitch it. So that leaves a completely clean treatment in the back. And in the front, you get this. It's kind of messy, but you can see it's, this pen is too wide. Let me change the size of my, you can see this is where the seam line where I sewed the pieces together. Then I pressed up the strip here, and it's edge stitched. So it's completely clean on the inside and outside. I love that. I've been doing that with everything. So that's the apron. I love this. I already have a cotton. I found a great cotton sheet set. It's 95% cotton, 5% post-consumer, whatever. Because I want a baking version. So this is great for gardening and plants. But when I'm baking, the flour gets all over the brown, and I'd rather have something lighter that won't show the flour, so I don't have to wash it quite as much. So that's a planned project. Next up, the Metamorphic Dress, and you can see I'm wearing it over my Stacia dress. So this is the Metamorphic Dress. I'm 5'10", and I think the Metamorphic patterns or So Liberated are drafted for 5'6". So I added 4 inches to the skirt just off the bat. I have not yet, but I think I will. My bust line is right about here. Like my, the apex of my bust line. And this bodice is a little on the short side. So I probably will add about 1 inch to this bodice. I don't want a lot because I actually like the more empire waist. This drawing, by the way, is not how this looks on me at all. So I really love this pattern. I think I can make this using just over 2 yards of each layer of fabric. It's a great layering piece. And I've got this weird fabric math going on in my head that, like, really this dress probably has almost 5 yards of fabric. It was probably 2.5 yards each. But in my head, I got 2 dresses that were made from 2.5 yards of fabric each. So I think that the Metamorphic Dress is a bargain because you end up with 2 dresses with like a Hinterland dress, which this is the Hinterlands here. This would be really hard to make with only 2.5 yards of fabric. In fact, I don't think you could because of the bias and all that kind of stuff. So I really love the Metamorphic Dress. I've made a couple other versions already. What else is there to say about this? Well, the patch pockets are small. I haven't sized them up yet, but I'm thinking I will make new templates for those. My phone fits in it, but I have an iPhone 12 mini, so it's really small, and they're just small. I think they look not quite to scale. The other thing is I thought I'd have this brilliant idea and finish all the inside seams with French seams, which is probably a little bit more detail oriented than most people would get. And I just want to say, if you try this, especially because the pocket on the inside layer is in seam pockets, and those are harder to do French seams with. It's pretty putsy. You can't do French seams with the burrito method. It doesn't work. I'm not going to get into the mechanics of why, but if you are one of those people like me who thinks, oh, I want French seams, even though you'll never see the inside seams, don't try it. I wasted a whole lot of time trying it, and it doesn't work. The Stacia dress, I'll get down. I have a more full-length picture, but I just want to say I added, actually, I'm going to have to go over the construction of the Stacia dress more. This is, I think it looks super cute together. Next up is the Hinterland dress, which I really love. This fabric is a little bit problematic. It's really stiff. So definitely it'll be great for the fall, but I won't be wearing it much for the summer. I did realize you can't, it affects how this is hanging, but this felt really big to me. So I put a piece of 3/4 inch elastic, 3/8 inch, it was really small, and the back seam, I just sewed it along the waistband, stretching as I sewed to give it a little bit more shape and bring it in the back. I didn't do the waist ties. I don't particularly like waist ties because I feel like they always stress the buttons in the front and just look bunchy in the back. So the elastic worked better for me. Other than that, I like the Hinterland's dress. As I added the 4 inches to the length, I believe I did. And it's a little short for me to wear on my own for my taste. I don't really like that length skirt, but I always wear it layered with something else. This also was not funny. It was heartbreaking. I realized when I went to finish the buttons that I no longer had my buttonhole foot for my Bernina, which if you have a Bernina, you know how expensive the accessories are. I stopped by the dealer where I bought my machine and they were selling it for $165. I almost died. The reason I don't have it is because I had a garage sale and I think I sold a box of like sewing accessories and I included my foot in it, which is so stupid. I was able to find a replacement for $40 on eBay. So definitely if you're a Bernina person, look on eBay for accessories. So for a long time, I couldn't do the buttonholes while I was looking for the foot. And I did the placket and then I just sewed the buttons right through it so I could only wear it this way. I just finished the buttons. This was one of the first dresses I made, and I just finished the buttonholes the other day. And I love wearing this dress with the top buttoned and the bottom split open. I think I can probably show you. Yeah. So this is how I was wearing it yesterday. I love that look. It's so peasant chic. It's so cool. Okay, what's up next? Next we'll do the gypsum skirt. So here's the gypsum skirt, pretty easy make. The only caution I have to say on this is in the instructions, it says this view with the pockets is appropriate for thinner fabrics, not thicker fabrics. And I couldn't think of a reason why. Well, hello, it's the flat-filled seams. Flat-filled seams are awesome because it leaves a really clean finish on the inside. Very difficult to do with thicker fabrics. The fabric I used was a little too thick, so they're a little bit messy and bumpy along the pockets. But in general, I love the pockets. I like the fit. There's a really excellent waistband finish I've been using on everything. It uses wider elastic, it's fabric covered, and it's completely finished on the inside. So this skirt is just a lovely, lovely construction. When you're done with it, there are no exposed seams if you follow the pattern. I just really love it. So I'll be making more of those. Next up is the True Bias Ogden Cami, which is a straight, it's kind of flared. It's cute. I mean, I like it. Although I will say, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. I knew going into this that that the Ogden Cami is a design I don't love, because I like to have a bit of a waistline. So, so many people use it as a hack that it's kind of here. So that's kind of what it looks like. It's just a nice, relaxed tank. There it is in linen. I think it's a great tank. It's just not really, it's not a silhouette that I wear that often. I really like to have a little bit of a waistline. So I made it out of this sheet, and I didn't like it. Like, it fit, I just didn't like it. So I cut it off. So the way the Ogden cami is it's got a lining piece that goes down to about here. And so it's fully, the top is lined. And that's how you turn, how you have the nice edges. No facing, which I actually like. So I cut it off. So both sides, this is where, that's how long the lining is. So I cut it off, and then I had lots of fabric. So I got a longer piece of fabric and then made this a little bit gathered. Again, with this, it's still a little bit big. I did a size 22. I probably should go down a size or two, but I've been too lazy to recut out new pieces. But I put a piece of elastic in the back waistband, the same way I did with the Hinterland dress, just to add a little bit of shape. Loved it. And I had all this extra fabric. And as much as I like the gypsum skirt, I really prefer bubble skirts with a bound hem. So I found this pattern on Etsy for this lantern skirt, which is kind of ingenious. It is not pattern pieces. It's a formula, and you take your measurements and then you cut out these pattern pieces, and it tells you the formula that you buy. It's like $10, tells you what size everything to cut out for all the pieces you need for your skirt. I made a few changes to the way that the pattern is. If you go and look at the pattern, it's the lantern skirt from Opal Annie. She has the casing on the outside. I put mine on the inside. She has this like circular pocket thing I didn't do. And then I added the lace at the bottom, and then you can't see it, but I used, she just has a like fold over the top of the skirt to make a casing kind of directions. I used the covered waistband with a thicker elastic instructions from the Gypsum, because like, it doesn't really matter with what I'm wearing here, but when I wear a skirt with a shirt, like here with the Gypsum, I like a thicker waistband. It kind of looks like a belt, and gives me some waist definition, which I really prefer, because I'm shaped kind of, this is probably my most form-fitting picture. Actually, this is a good one. Like, I'm the smallest right here under my bust, and my natural waist is here. And so my natural waist is 44. My under bust is probably like 41. So I don't like things that hit at my waist necessarily. Like, if I was wearing this skirt at my waist, it would be down here. Very unflattering. So I wear more high-waisted things. And I prefer to have that thicker waistband at my waist. So I really freaking love this lantern skirt. I even like this matchy outfit. I'm wearing this skirt right now. And I went ahead, and it wasn't in the plan, and it's not really part of the spring capsule, but I included it with the pictures. I had this vintage bedspread. It's got this pattern. It's really thick. And it was in my Goodwill bag that I was donating it. So I fished it out. I looked at the content. The fiber was 100% cotton. And I made a white lantern skirt. So it's got the lace. It's got, again, I put the casing on the inside. You can kind of see how the pattern is. You can see the thick waistband. So I've been wearing the heck out of these. I really like these skirts. Stacia Dress is next. I had some real trouble with the Stacia Dress. I love the final. But well, here, it's probably easier to show you on Instagram. So let me just get back to my original pictures of Stacia. I think this is it. Okay. So here's the final. And then here is my first version. And you know what? I am just gonna grab a picture of this, if it will let me, so we can do some drawing. Done, save to photos. And now we're going to go back to Good Notes, and I can just pop in that picture right here. Okay. So let's get these buggers side by side. There we go. All right. So it's not maybe as obvious to other people as it is to me. But my pen all of a sudden stopped working. Okay. But the pattern pieces, this is really hard to describe. So the pattern pieces, there's two pieces like this, and they're kind of shaped like that, right? And the cut is really smooth. So if you're looking at the pattern pieces, there's the bodice with this kind of point, although it's not that. And then the skirt flares out. This line here is really smooth, and for me, it created a real sausage look from here to here. It was just a little too form-fitting. Like you can see it's kind of bumpy, lumpy. I know I have some friends who were like, Patty, you're crazy. But I was uncomfortable in it, especially because this is, man alive, $17 a yard linen from Joann's. So thin, it feels super body conscious. I just was uncomfortable with the first version. I don't know if you can see because the angle's a little bit different, but the original skirt was almost to my ankle, and the new version is about 4 inches higher. And the reason is I made the skirt and I didn't like it, so I removed the skirt, and then I cut off till about here. It's about 4 inches off the top of the skirt. So the skirt, because it flares out, it's wider here, so there's a little bit more ease. And then I reattached it, and it's not even that it needed to be gathered because, it's stretchy and it's easy to manipulate, but it just gave me enough flare that I felt a lot more comfortable. I can't write on that picture for some reason. I felt a lot more comfortable. I feel a lot more comfortable in that version of the skirt. So that's like a permanent pattern adjustment I'm making. And if you don't like, because I know that I had even noticed in the pattern photos on the So Liberated site that in the larger sized model, I had noticed this fit issue, and I wasn't sure how much I'd like it. On her, it's just a little too fitted through the midsection for my taste to be comfortable. I don't think it looks bad. It's more like a comfort thing. So that's what I did. I just cut it down. And also the long length of the skirt, guys, I'm 5'10", and the original skirt almost went to my ankles. So keep that in mind when you're cutting. They call it a midi length, but I would call it a maxi length. Like to me, a midi length is more below the knees, a good distance below the knees, but below the knees. So that's a Stacia dress. I love it. I've got plans for some shirts, both, there's pattern pieces to do a shirt. So it's like, like straight, like a t-shirt. So kind of like a cute fitted t-shirt. It's kind of like that. So there's pattern pieces for that. And I have that planned, but I'm also going to do some peplum versions of the t-shirt. I really love the pattern. Finally, the maxi dress. So, it's not letting me draw there either. I'm overwhelming the poor memory of the good notes. So, going back to my inspiration, this is the maxi dress from Torrid that I wanted. And this is what I was starting with. So, what's special about this maxi dress is that it has princess seams, and I love the neckline and the thin straps. That pattern is impossible to find. So here's the whole yoke, which has princess seams, similar neckline, slightly larger straps, but still okay, and it has this waistband. On her, it looks fine, but in real life, this is really more of a fit and flare dress, not a relaxed fitted dress like this. So I was really, and there's so many, I don't know, I was really not enthused about getting started on this project. So I have a few versions of that Torrid maxi dress that I've bought over the years. And one version was this really pretty kind of aqua blue that I felt like was too light for me. And then I stained it really badly with something. So I took it apart and I made pattern pieces from it. So Here's my maxi dress. I am so thrilled that I have the pattern pieces based on my torrid dress. It's just really simple with these lines. I made this one really long. This is made from a haul I got at a local fabric store. There was 2 bolts of silk in the clearance section at 75% off. So I got this raw silk at $2 a yard. I'm just so thrilled about that. The pickups here are accomplished with ties. So if this is the seam, in order to do this, it's really important to have a seam to attach your ties to. So for this look, I put a tie probably about 6 inches above the hem on the sides and probably about 8 inches above the hem in the middle, and then about 10 inches above each of those. And then I can tie them together to create this sort of bustled effect. This is how you bustle a wedding gown if you've ever gotten married and had the tailors at the wedding shop add a bustle to your gown. This is I believe a French bustle. An American bustle is very similar, but the folds of fabric go to the inside, not the outside. And it's done with buttons usually. But so I love this. It shortens it up. I really love this dress. I couldn't be more pleased. So here is my spring palette. And so I wanted to talk a little bit more about my color analysis and what I'm doing next. So I just grabbed these pictures. Those cutout pictures are a little bit strange. That's how I like to do my planning. So here's all the garments and just the full pictures in front of my house. This one's behind my house because it was too sunny on the front of my house. So I know I don't look like it in pictures. If you've known me for a while, you know that I am a redhead and my hair has faded significantly in the last 5 to 10 years. I used to have really dark orange hair. Because of being a redhead, I've always kind of thought I was an autumn. If you're familiar with the seasonal color analysis, I thought these were my colors. You know, the kind of avocado green and these warm blues and teals and oranges and creams and yellows. Well, I thought that with a caveat. And one of the biggest things is I know that I do not look good in warm makeup. So any of the colors that, like, I keep trying to wear Kardashian colors because they look great in warm makeup, and I just can't. I look like a corpse. I look good in berry colored lipsticks. So that's always confused me a bit. And when I try to do the tests, like what color my veins are, if I look better in gold or silver, I have color dysmorphia. I don't know. I kind of thought that I was leaning towards warm autumn because of my red hair and I have grayish blue eyes, and maybe I had neutral skin. I thought maybe, so this is the autumn palette I thought I was, and this is a spring palette, which is the other warm palette. Winter and summer are cool palettes. Autumn, as you can see, it's more warm and dark, and spring is more bright, but these are still warm tones. This kind of chartreuse and, you know, orangey, goldenrod. I really thought these were my colors, guys. I mean, look at that. These are Patty colors. Even my husband, when he came home and saw this stack of fabric, he was like, holy cow, those are Patty colors. Well, lo and behold, I paid Your Color Guru, which is awesome, to get my analysis, and I am a light summer, and this is my palette, which is insane. I mean, look at how different that is. I have really been, you know, at first I was really unsure, but I had some back and forth with them. And I do know I didn't know I had a cool complexion, but I knew that makeup that works on a cool complexion looks good on me. I also knew some of these colors. I've always known these blue, red, like purple wisteria, periwinkle. I've always known those colors are good on me. This rosewood is a color I wear all the time. And I knew these sages look good on me. I tend towards gray. I don't like navy. I actually don't like blues. And I've hated lemon. And, you know, I never would think of these pink colors. But I've been really playing with this. And I can't believe how much better I look in these colors. So since I started my spring palette, I have gotten rid of all of the fabrics, or I've used RIT Color Remover. If you follow me on Instagram or Facebook, I share a lot of this. I have used RIT color remover to remove the dye from my nicer fabrics, like silks that I still wanted to use but were the wrong color. I actually had sewn up most of the warm colors I had and hadn't bought a lot of new fabrics, so I was able to buy new fabrics in the palette that is more me. So here's some of the newer fabrics that I have bought. And I have this page to kind of plan out what's next and see what I've made. So here we have my actual palette. Here's the fabrics I have, just so I can keep it in mind. This is going out to Pinterest and searching for, I'm technically a light summer. There's 3 different kinds of summers. Light summers have the clearest pastel-y colors. So I just copied these pictures just as a frame of reference for the light summer palette. These over here are swatches of fabrics that I have with my plan for what I plan to make from them. And then over here, I have finished stuff that's in the new color palette. So some of the things, I actually think this raw silk is a little bit on the warm side, but I'm not swapping it out because I love it. So some of the things you've already seen, like the Hinterland Dress, the Gypsum Skirt, those are all from the spring, and I think they still work. This is a new Metamorphic Dress I've made, and this is a pink blush linen that I think is lilac, and this is more of a periwinkle rayon. This is another Metamorphic Dress in this sort of beautiful sagey blue silk and this green shirting material. And this green, I don't know, it's almost yellow. It's not quite right for my palette. It looks like it's sea glass, but in real life it's a little bit more yellowish. But I think it works. It's very close to the lemon chiffon too. I have the apron. I just made this toile skirt, which I love. And I've had this cashmere sweater for like 10 years and I've never worn it because I didn't think the color was right, but now it's more my color. So that's where I am. There's a couple other makes that I don't have on the sheet that I need to add. And I'm just going to keep sewing up my summer wardrobe. These are all linens, light cottons, some nice jerseys, some silks. So I have a really good flexible wardrobe. The next thing I'm planning, I think, is going to be a lantern skirt Ogden tank mashup. So I'm going to make a cute slip with a lantern skirt. I did something really similar recently. Where is it? Here it is. This is a mashup with the Ogden tank cut to the lining length and then just a simple gathered skirt here. This is actually fully reversible. So this is one way and then the other side is another lighter white silk. So I'm planning on doing something similar, but with this lantern skirt shape on the bottom. So that's an update. I don't know how long it'll be before I do my next update. If you have any questions, let me know. If you like to keep up with this sort of thing, go ahead and follow me either on Facebook or Instagram. I usually cross post, so one or the other. I chat more on Facebook. You can just find my personal profile and send me a friend request or follow me on Instagram. And thanks for watching, and let me know if you have any questions.